May I have your attention, please? The podcast World Awakenings, the fast track to enlightenment, is now on the air. May I have your attention, please? The podcast World Awakenings is now on the air.
This is World Awakenings, the fast track to enlightenment with your host, Carl Gruber. World Awakenings is a podcast dedicated to opening your mind, your heart, and your eyes to the fact that the world's population is now, more than ever, awakening to all things metaphysical and spiritual, and just how they play an all-important role in our daily life. So join Carl on this enlightening experience as he interviews metaphysical and spiritual experts to discuss, debate, and delve deeply into the hows and whys of this worldwide awakening.
We welcome you to the World Awakenings podcast. Before we start, we'd like to tell you about a special ebook written by the show's host, Carl Gruber. The 3 Pillars, a simple 3-step process to manifest positive and permanent change in your life. The concise 32-page 3 Pillars ebook will teach you how to become a successful and consistent co-creator of your life path with the law of attraction. Yes, you can manifest the life you truly desire, and the ebook is absolutely free. Simply go to Carl's website, carlgruberlifecoach.com. That's KARLGRUBER lifecoach.com. Click on the header title About Me and get the free download today. Carl Gruber's free ebook, The 3 Pillars, will positively change your life.
Hey, my beautiful friends, I'm your host, Carl Gruber, for this podcast, World Awakenings, the fast track to enlightenment, which asks the question, why now more than ever are the people of the world awakening to all things enlightening, spiritual, and metaphysical? Since June 2018, we've had the opportunity to speak with and learn from some of the greatest spiritual and metaphysical teachers of this world, and some not from this world, too. Before we go any farther, I'd like to ask you to take a moment to click the subscribe button below to this channel so that you never miss a single episode. Also, don't forget that you can also catch this show on Amazon Music. Now, let me tell you about today's guest. Our guest today is Tim Doyle, founder of The Path to Oneness. He's a spiritual teacher and guide who shares the channeled teachings of the Golden Ones, based on the universal laws and principles of harmony, balance, order, and unity for the greater good. The Golden Ones have channeled their teachings on the purpose of life for each soul born to Earth. The Golden Ones' teachings will assist the soul in the comprehension of the path and ascension to the next level of soul development. While now living in China, Tim is an ordained metaphysical minister, Reiki master, certified Kundalini instructor, and author of 3 books, How to Play the Game of Life. Book 1 for the beginner, book 2 for the intermediate, and book 3 for the advanced. And despite some big technical difficulties in pulling this chat together today, we made it. So welcome to the show, Tim. I am so grateful to have you as my guest today.
Carl, I appreciate the opportunity to speak with you and your audience. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, I as I mentioned before we started recording here, I got one of your ebooks yesterday, the book 1 for the beginner, How to Play the Game for Life. But before we dive in all that, I've got to say, Tim, you're a long way from growing up in Rochester, New York, in a strict Catholic household. How the heck did you get to China after you were 35 years in a corporate career in America, right?
Yeah, Carol. Yeah, that is correct. I've had my whole path has been a spiritual path, but I've been guided to earn a living through just government work, technology, going to school, education. And in my free time, I would take spiritual trips around the world and do spiritual training to become a metaphysical minister or Reiki master or a yoga instructor, meditation. But I was guided the whole time, a spiritual guided by visitations from spiritual beings that guided me from step by step to the next step to the next step and so forth, a learning experience as I traveled. So yeah, a long ways from Rochester. And in 2014, I was guided to come to China and write the third book, the advanced version of How to Play the Game of Life. How to Play the Game of Life. So I am in China.
Well, from everything I've read, your beautiful website, thepathtowoneness.com, I got to learn a little bit about you. Since 1972, you've been a channel for a group of non-physical teachers called the Golden Ones. Now, who are they, and what is their main message to you and all of humanity?
Well, what this is, Carl, is Earth is a spiritual training school. Everybody who comes to Earth, born to Earth, is here training to become a co-creator God. Now, the Golden Ones are co-creator gods, and they are the administrators of this spiritual training school, Earth. Now, their teachings were on Earth, were lost during the sinking of Atlantis. And that's when Earth fell from a fifth dimension reality into a third dimension reality. And because it was a third dimension reality, the energy, the vibration of the planet was not vibrant enough to keep the Golden Ones here. Now, December 21st, 2012, Earth, I won't say Earth, but our solar system completed the journey around the galactic center, which takes 25,920 years. And Earth migrated, transitioned into a third to a fifth dimension planet. So when that happened, the Golden Ones were, well, energy-wise, they could come back to Earth. And so in October of 2012, just before December, I was, well, first of all, back in 1983, I had a visitation of a golden being. I was in meditation, and my eyes were closed and so forth. And all of a sudden, my mind's eye opened up like a television screen, and I saw this beautiful golden light being standing in front of me. Gold sashes, gold clothing. He just radiated goldness. And he took a necklace from around his neck, and it floated. I don't know how it floats in your mind's eye, but it floated from him to myself. He put it around my neck, and my body tingled. Well, I just thought, I've had other visitations before, and I thought, wow, this is pretty neat. Then in October of 2012, I was in meditation in southern New Zealand, and a group of these beings came in, and I didn't know who they were, and I didn't know that they just said they were going to join me. And I welcomed them because I've had visitations before. And then it wasn't until February of 2013, during my morning yoga, did they start talking to me. And I was alone, upstate New York, in Naples, New York. And I was doing my yoga at 3:30 in the morning, Kundalini yoga. You do it before sunrise. And they started talking to me. And they have always talked to me, Carl. It was just something I took for granted, that I always had this relationship in my mind of talking to these beings, not knowing who they were. And they started in probably a couple of weeks later, in the end of February. They got me up at 2:30 in the morning, and they told me to go to the computer and start typing whatever I heard. So I went to the computer and started typing, and we got to the end, and I didn't know how to sign it. And I said, okay, I can't take credit for this. How should I sign it? And they said, sign it, the Golden Ones. So that's one of the first time I heard who they were, the Golden Ones, after their first channel writing in February of 2013.
Wow. Wow.
So we are here in training to become co-creator gods.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Carl, there?
Just let me ask you this. Having never channeled at all, I mean, were you afraid at first? I mean, you were in a spiritual mode, so you were just in awe, or what was your reaction to it when it first happened?
Well, see, that's not the first time it happened. I started meditating in 1972, and I knew nothing about meditation. I knew nothing about chakras. I just, I had a psychic reading by my spiritual teacher then, before I joined to become a metaphysical minister. And she gave me a psychic reading, and she says, you can ask me any questions. And I said, well, how do you do what you do? How do you know this? And she says, just go home and meditate. So I went home and started meditating, and I don't know if you know what the Kundalini is, Carl. The Kundalini is an energy force in the root chakra of your body. And I didn't know I was raised in the Kundalini. At first, I would see colors and numbers, and then I would have the first chakra. And then the energy moved over a period of a couple of months, moved up through the chakras. And I didn't even know what a chakra was. Went to my second chakra, and then there was a pulsation in my third chakra. And then it went to my fourth chakra. And then all of a sudden, this energy force came in through my left arm, got up to the cavity of my body. I started hearing a thunderous, like a train in my right ear. And then my body took over this rhythmic breathing that I couldn't control. I was just sitting there observing what was going on. And I do the prayer of protections. So I know that whatever happens to me during the meditation, it's divine. So I just sat there and observed this, and my breathing took in this. I couldn't control it. And then all of a sudden, this energy went up to my mind's eye, and there was this brilliant white light in my mind's eye. It was so brilliant, Carl. My eyes were closed, and I'm trying to close them even tighter to get rid of, away from this white light. And then I spiraled out of my body, and I had an out-of-body experience. And I was living on the Chesapeake Bay at the time, and I was over the Chesapeake Bay. I didn't know where I was going. I don't know how I got there. And I just sent out a thought to my loved one saying, please return me. And as soon as I said that thought, I spiraled back into my body. And that's my first experience with, that's one of my first experiences. I've had minor experiences before that where I would hear a thing in my dream state. I would be taken up in my dream states by the lords of Amente. These are the lords in the inner earth, and they would take me up and tell me things in dream state, and then I would find myself spiraling back, not spiraling, just descending back in my body. And I sort of got used to that. Used to visitations in my sleep state where three tall beings would come to me and say, we're going to teach you about thoughts. And I would just say, okay. And we'd go off someplace and they would teach me about thoughts. So it just became just like a matter of fact that this happens to me. And I just take it I appreciate it, but I'm not overwhelmed. And what I found out, Carl, is these beings, what they tell me, they're no more precious than anybody else in the world. I mean, you are as precious as they are precious, and they're here to serve us. This is what people don't understand. Angels, I work with my angels and teachers. You can ask them anything, and they will assist you. But most people don't believe in it. or they haven't had the experience to do so. So they just don't know the technique of communicating. And you just communicate with your thoughts. The key is disciplining your thinking from your ego thinking to your divine thinking. There's a brainwave that is, I call it the God consciousness brainwave, that once you attune to it, and on my website, www.thepathtowoneness.com, there's a technique. It's a 28-day technique that will teach you to attune to this brainwave, and it's like riding a bike. Once you attune, you're always attuned, and you're always listening, and you can communicate with the God forces in every moment.
Is that the Ascension Master Program that's on your website that you're talking about, the 28-day program?
Yes, sir.
Okay, awesome.
Carol, you have to discipline your thinking. And it's like, I think all the time. I'm always in tune to this frequency. And if I have a question, or if it's like, what do I do? Do I do this or do I do that? I just listen, and they tell me what to do. Sometimes I don't feel like getting out of bed, and they'll say, get up. And when I get up and go to the computer, I say, oh, okay, that's why you wanted me up. So I just follow their guidance. Like I said, they told me to come to China, and I have always done what they guided me to do. They don't demand it. They just recommend it. And I appreciate working for them. I say working, I'm a student. And they train me, and I guess my role is to share this on who we are and how easy it is to be in touch with your teachers and the angels, and how you can make it work for you.
So would you consider yourself a true trance channel? Do they physically speak through you sometimes, or they only appear to you in your mind, in your mind's eye, and right through you? Most channels.
Carol, that's kind of a good question, because sometimes I find myself doing things that I don't normally do. And I'll ask myself, why am I doing this? And I'll say something, not knowing why I say it, but it's basically like when they want to, they'll talk through me as if I'm talking, but I don't know what I'm saying. Consciously, I don't formulate what I'm saying. It just comes out. But it's perfect when it comes out. It's just perfect. It's like that's what the person needs to hear. Mm-hmm. So I don't intentionally consider myself a channel in that sense. I just listen for guidance on how I can support them and get their teachings out, to wake up the spiritual training school to tell everybody what the purpose is. And we're just here training in to become co-creator gods. We come here out of love to serve God with our whole heart, soul, mind, and body. That's why we're here.
Well, I'd like to go back. You mentioned a few minutes ago that the Golden Ones are no different than we are, and I love that because I'm a big student of A Course in Miracles, and Jesus, who is the voice of A Course in Miracles, mentions many times that he's no different than we are. There is nothing that he did that we cannot do. That is because our true self is a divine being.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's
exactly. In fact, Jesus, not to demote Jesus, but they set him up as the Son of God. We're all the sons of gods. We're all the sons and daughters of gods.
Right.
There's not one child of God that's more valuable than another child of God. So, just putting that out.
Let me ask you. So, would you consider the Golden Ones to be ascended masters?
Of course.
Okay.
That's why we're here. That is our destiny, to become ascended masters and then become co-creator gods. Ascended masters, yes. But you see, the universe, if you think about our universe, And we're only aware of one universe. In that universe, our universe, there's hundreds of billions of galaxies. And each galaxy has hundreds and billions of stars. And each solar system has planets around it. There's like trillions and trillions of stars, solar systems, and so forth. So who is going to assist God in being administrators of all these solar systems throughout the universe? That's why we're here. We're here to become co-creator gods, so then we become administrators of solar systems.
Wow. I love the fact that you're teaching, and the Golden Ones are teaching, that we are co-creators. I don't think that the majority of people on the planet have any idea how truly powerful they are as a creator. Our thoughts become things, and most people just, they feel like a ship without a rudder, and that it's everything outside of them is creating their life, when it's really them.
Well, the thing is before you come to Earth, you do not have a conscious mind or a subconscious mind. You are guided by the heart of God. And so it's not till you come here and do you get a conscious mind and a subconscious mind, and you learn how to create. It kind of goes back to the biblical story of Adam and Eve, where they were eating from the tree of knowledge. And that's what we're doing basically here. We're learning knowledge. I guess in the story in the Bible, it said, if you eat from this tree, you become like God. And basically, that's what we're here. They made it sound like it was evil to think about coming like God. But that's not true at all. We're here to become like God. And when Adam and Eve supposedly got kicked out of paradise, they didn't get kicked out. They just came to Earth. The first thing they realized was that they were naked. Now, they were always naked, but they didn't have the consciousness or the subconsciousness to come into that reality that they were naked. It's only when they got the conscious mind and the subconscious mind that they could then think about what their situation was. So we came here to learn how to create. And now we take it so like, oh, it's nothing new, but we're here to perfect it in accordance with laws of nature and of the will of our Mother, Father, Goddess of creation, in harmony, balance, order, and unity for the good of all, the good of all. So that's our lesson here, is we're all classmates in this training school, and we have to be compassionate for those that are not as advanced as we are, because before I did the ayahuasca in Peru back in between 2000 and 2005. I did it about 15 times. And after my first drinking, they showed me, when I went to Peru, I was working on two things. I was working on Tantra, and was Earth a prison or what was Earth? And during the drinking of the ayahuasca afterwards, they give you a vision. And the vision is like watching television. The vision is like crystal clear. And they showed me sitting in a throne above in the universe. I'm there with a staff in my left hand and something in my right hand. And I had a crown on my head, and I was dressed like a king. And the hand of God came across my vision, pointed to a small little star, and it said choice, meaning that when we came to Earth, it was choice. So we all come here as kings and queens. We earn the right to come to Earth. You just can't come to Earth to train to become a co-creator God. You have to be the elite of your solar system to be recognized and to be recommended to come to Earth. And then it goes up to the Galactic Council, and they vote on it. And if it's approved, you're incarnated into Earth.
Wow.
And then you forget everything that ever happened to you.
Well, I was going to ask you about your experience with plant medicine with the shamans in South America. So, like ayahuasca, a friend of mine has been in Costa Rica. She's from Norway, and she's been down there and doing the ayahuasca and the plant medicine, and just raves about it. It just simply raises and expands your consciousness. Is that how the plant medicine works?
What it does, it doesn't. For me, it went back and it was a clearing of my emotional body, and memories and emotions and past feelings. It was, you take journeys, but it wasn't like, I just felt that it was a cleansing of my body, just a cleansing. And then after you go through these ceremonies, which are very, excuse me, not very easily taken, you get a vision. Then you relax after about 4 hours of going through ceremonies and journeys in and out of your body and so forth. Then you relax, and then you get rewarded with visions of things that teach you about life. And basically, I got tricked into going to the shamans in Peru. I came home from work one day, and my teacher said, take a trip. I says, okay, where should I go? They said, oh, visit some shamans. So I got on the internet, and I signed up for the shamans in Peru, not knowing that I was going to drink anything. I just thought I was going to go down there and visit and so forth. And it wasn't until we got at the boat up the river, off the Amazon River, off a little inlet into the middle of the jungle, no electricity, no hot water or anything like that. And someone asked the shaman, Howard, when are we going to drink? And I go, what do you mean drink? They said, drink the ayahuasca. Carl, I couldn't even pronounce the word ayahuasca. I said, drink the ayahuasca? And they go, yeah. And come to find out that some of these people spent like 6 months planning this journey, how to get there, should they take it or should not. And here, in 15 minutes, I signed up to go to Peru to drink this ayahuasca. And I'm sure my teachers were laughing, but it was the best. I learned so much about life in the light body, and consciousness and subconsciousness through the drinking of the ayahuasca. That was basically the fundamentals of the conscious and subconscious mind. And I don't know how much time we have, but what I'd like to do is tell you about fears. And fears and unhealthy thoughts and unhealthy feelings, how easy it is to get rid of it in seconds. Carl, very simple. I don't care if you had a fear from 20 years, you can release this fear in like 10, 15 seconds. Just take it right off your subconsciousness. And it's very easy. And this technique, I try to get it out to people as much as possible. It's on the website, and it took 13 years in the makings to understand how this technique works. So, very interesting. Like I said, no one should have any fears, unhealthy feelings about self or about others, because what happens when you're in fear, you do not vibrate to the height of your frequency. And if you're not vibrating to the height of your frequency, then you cannot draw the energies you need for your manifestations. And this is extremely important because the conscious mind can only hold one thought at a time. So are you thinking about manifesting your dreams, or are you thinking about fear? So,
well, that's really interesting that you should mention that, because one of my questions I wanted to throw at you is that and you're talking about fear, humanity is currently in the grip of a worldwide fear of a pandemic and the abuse of power by governments in most countries. How can people use the teachings of the Golden Ones to overcome this fear and chaos and return to love and peace? And you just touched on it. It was beautiful. You beat me to it.
Well, the thing is that this is a spiritual training school. Mm-hmm. Now, you have the good guys, the angels, and the enlightened beings and the golden ones, but you also have Lucifer. Now, Lucifer, Archangel Lucifer, he is a archangel, a messenger of God, and his job is to make sure that everyone passes the test of not being tempted. So he will tempt everyone with money, power, sensual desires, fulfilling your sensual desires, authority, fame, money. He'll throw everything at you to get you to not become undisciplined and not follow him exactly, but allow your ego to be inflated with money, power, fame, sexual desires, anything it takes. He'll find a weakness. And so that's his role. I mean, that's his purpose of the training schools, his role. But currently, fear, now, the earth is in fear. And the pandemic is nothing more than a flu that the governments, certain governments, are inflating to keep the population in fear, because if you're in fear, you can't manifest your dreams. You cannot manifest your dreams if you're in fear. And so they heighten it up with a new virus every week, a new one. And it will keep going and going and going. But eventually, what happened when 21 December 2012, we moved into the golden age, where the golden age is the vibration of the planet, one from a third dimension to the fifth dimension. So the whole planet is vibrating at a higher frequency. Everybody on the planet will have to vibrate at the fifth dimension frequency, which is love, peace, harmony, balance, order, or unity. All right. Now, the golden age is where people will live to be 1,000, 2,000 years. Now, you may think that's impossible. Not at all. My teachers told me many, many years ago, I will never die. And they tell me, one thing you have to do is in your body, you have a pH ratio. pH is your alkalinity to acid environment. If your body's in an acid environment, then that's where diseases live. As long as you keep your body in an alkaline environment, you cannot get ill. You cannot get ill unless you misuse your spiritual energies, and then you can get ill.
Mm. Yeah, that's really interesting, because it's interesting because I think I intuitively understand that human beings should live way longer than we do, and I think the mind training that we undergo in society growing up, well, you're supposed to get old and you're supposed to die, and you don't have to. If you go through this training program that the Golden Ones or any teachers are teaching you, I agree with you. I believe that. I do want to ask this about, of course, the Mayan calendar ended on December 21st, 2012, when you're saying we moved into the golden age, and we're vibrating in 5D. Well, my understanding from my studies that if you are actually existing in the 5D, you can't maintain the form of a body anymore. Does that mean that bodies will all disappear?
No. It's not till we get to a higher frequency does the body, you don't need the body anymore. Why you need a body, Carl, here's why you need a body. When you're created in the image and likeness of God, all God's characteristics are stored in your light body. Your light body is in your third chakra. Your third chakra is your solar plexus or your emotional body. So what has to happen is if you have the characteristics of God, you have to convert them into the characteristics of God are raw emotional feelings. You have to convert those into God feelings. And how you do that is you have to you have to do it. They showed me I had to do it. It can take lifetimes to do it. To take anger and convert it into peace. There's a nerve center that goes from your emotional body, third chakra, to your brain. And these raw emotions need the body to, through life's experiences, to be converted, transitioned from an emotion to a feeling. So we need the body to convert these raw emotions into God feelings.
Okay.
Now that's a short answer. And I had to do this twice. I had to do it once during the ayahuasca. I had to sit in, I don't know, you probably studied the agony of the garden with Jesus before his crucifixion.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
All right. So he was in agony. Well, most people don't know what the word agony means. I was in one of the drinkings of the ayahuasca, and I had to sit there for 2 to 3 hours in pure agony. And I couldn't understand. There was nothing scaring me. There was no visions. I just had this agony going through my body. And I couldn't say I was afraid of anything, or it was this, it was that. It was just pure agony. And what my teachers were telling me is that the God characteristics, they took the opportunity to go through my nerve centers, because what happens is when your emotions start being disciplined, it creates a energy in the body of frustration, of you want to just lash out at somebody, you want to yell, you want to punch somebody, and so forth. So what happens is when that happens and you release that energy, then that raw emotion has not completed its journey to the brain. So I had to sit there during the ayahuasca drinking. I couldn't yell, I couldn't scream, I couldn't hit anybody. And I just had to sit there and tolerate this agonizing feeling for about 3 hours. And it wasn't until I didn't know what the purpose was until later when I came home and my teachers told me, and I experienced it again, this exact same thing in a similar situation. And I just had to sit there and endure the agony. In fact, on my website, there's a meditation to deal with emotions and how to convert it into a God feeling.
Wow. I don't know if that encourages anybody to do plant medicine, but it was your individual journey at the moment. So,
well, you know what? I wouldn't give it up for anything. What I learned, I guess I had to learn it to be able to assist other people going through the process.
You know, I do also want to ask you this. Now, after studying your information on your website, I see that you've also received visits from many other beings, like, well, not only the golden ones, but the angel of death, the lords of Amenti, Thoth, the Egyptian god, the Arcturians, who are seventh dimension beings. Why are they coming to you? Are they giving you similar messages to the golden ones?
Well, they're all teachers. Let's take, for example, the angel of death. I had a friend at a time, and I think that they came to me. It was midnight. I tell you when it was. It was April 30th, 1999, and I watched some sporting events on TV, and I was going to bed at 11:35, and my teachers told me meditate. I says, okay, I'll meditate. And so I sat down. At the time, my living room was set up for a meditation, and chairs in a circle. And so when I sat down in my chair, I saw that all my teachers were sitting there. And I thought, wow, this is kind of nice. It would be very interesting to know about the conscious and subconscious mind and the purpose of it and what causes fear and how easy it is to get rid of the fear. Like I said, I appreciate sharing the teachings of the golden ones.
Well, and I've recently, most of my focus, I'm a certified law of attraction life coach. And since I've done this, I started this in June 2018, have been focused on law of attraction, A Course in Miracles. I've interviewed some of the premier teachers of A Course in Miracles. That's been my primary focus. But I've really been, over the last 6-8 months, started to go to channel beings and learn and understand about them. And I went to a spiritual retreat in St. Augustine, Florida, with Carol Collins, who channels Seth and Yeshua and James. It was an amazing weekend. So I'm learning and learning. I just have this thirst. I want to know. I want to know. And I don't have experiences like you. I don't get flashes of light or anything. I just go for a run, and that's my time of meditation during the day. You're a good man, and Golden, I know you've been listening. I'm much namaste, my friends. I really appreciate what you're doing through this beautiful man here.
Oh, listen, we're all beautiful. We just don't know it. And it's amazing how much we're like children in a kingdom, and they will wait on us hand and foot to help us along, but we don't realize what power and what authority we have. And we just think we're nothing. And that's not true. That's not true at all.
It's interesting. Last night before I went to bed, I was online and I was checking all these things about on these sites, these alternative sites that show how the vaccines are toxic and there's a one world order. I even saw your prediction on your website about a one world order for humanity. And I hope it doesn't get to that point, because we do have free will to choose, but and all that. And so I went to bed and I had this fear energy in my mind because, and then I'm thinking, wait, thoughts create things, and then I turn to I call them Team Carl, my team of guides. And I said, listen, I'm just going to align with you. And even while I was laying in bed, at first but I kept focusing on them and on the truth and the love and the oneness of who we really are. And I just felt this glow of light while I was sleeping in the dark last night, they were there. I knew it, and when I woke up, that fear that I went to bed with was gone. So.
Well, Carl, let me just say that one world government doesn't mean that it's going to be controlled by anything other than spiritual loving beings. It's like there'll be
that. I would be okay with that.
Yeah. See, there'll be no borders. You'll be free to travel. No restrictions. Everyone will just be able to be who they are without any government intervention. It'll be like a truly spiritual training school evolving into.
Thanks once again to our guest for today's show, Tim Doyle, for joining us. As I mentioned at the start of this episode, we had some technical difficulties in pulling this show together. So make sure you have all of the complete info. You can connect with Tim Doyle at his home in China by going to his website, www.thepath2oneness.com. That's the path to oneness.com. Also, make sure to check out his 3 books: How to Play the Game of Life, Book 1 for the beginner, Book 2 for the intermediate, and Book 3 for the advanced spiritual and metaphysical student. And a quick note on that, his books are not available on Amazon, so you have to go to his website, thepath2oneness.com, in order to purchase his books. I'm Carl Gruber, and thank you for once again joining me here on World Awakenings, the fast track to enlightenment.
This has been another episode of World Awakenings, the fast track to enlightenment with your host, Carl Gruber, a certified law of attraction life coach. We welcome you to tune in each and every episode of this podcast, World Awakenings, as we open your mind, your heart, and your eyes to the fact that all the world's population is now, more than ever, awakening to the truth of all things metaphysical and spiritual, and just how they play an all-important role in our moment-to-moment everyday life. Much love and light to you, my friend. Thank you for tuning in.